back here. He cut the logs and hewed them with a broadaxe and adze, and one by one he built the rooms, and as the children came along he built another room, and when he got married he built a room, and the children came along he built a room, until he finally got enough rooms for everybody. I think they had 4 or 5 children, and of which there's Emma and Charles are left.
Yeah, now,
as the grandchildren.
Was this Nicholas Ritz that built this?
No, this was Charles number one. Charles number one.
Charles of the Ritz.
Roman numeral number 1, and number 2 was my dad's first cousin, Charlie, we called him, and the present owner is Charles III, who I say lives over and was the last owner in the Ritz family that owned the mush factory, and he lives now over on the south side of Pittsburgh or somewhere over there, Mount Oliver or somewhere over there.
Well, in the family tree it says something about Nicholas Ritz out there somewhere.
Well, this was I think that's about the first one. Nicholas was a brother of this fellow. The story which I have back in the car there, I think a copy of it that was in the Tarentum Valley News up here a few years back, which was an interview that one of the reporters, journalist there for the newspaper, dug up, and Charles apparently met the lady out here. I think it was a lady, and she took a picture of him right out here by the cabin, and wrote up a very nice article about this cabin having been built back in 1865, and said Charles had come over here, Charles number 1, from Switzerland, from the area of, from the town of, the area of Ruti there. They were farmers. It's a farm community there, northwest of Bern, and he came over and went in the Union Army in the Civil War and was mustered out at Gettysburg, and as I told you, he got $14 mustering out pay, and he walked from Gettysburg to here, and the article says because he had a relative in the air, and that relative was Nicholas. Was your great-grandfather who lived over here near the Little Gym Church where we're going to go from here. So that's about the story. Here's the old barn right here. What's left of it was the good old barn when it was caved in when we were here recently with Caroline in the early summer, but
yeah, it just collapsed, huh?
It finally got tired, and the stone wall, I guess, settled down, and the whole thing got tired and fell over, and old barns don't last forever. But this was built by the old fellow. I say he was young then, sometime after 1865. Look at the size of these. You see, it's a pretty good trees. Look at the size of those beams there.
Yeah.
You know, that's a 1-foot square beam approximately. It takes time to get the bark on the outside wood off. It takes a pretty good tree to get a log that size. There's one tree down here, incidentally, that's reputed to be somewhere around the neighborhood of 300 years old. This big oak that we're coming through down here. And it was probably here when the young bachelor came in 1865 and built this beautiful structure. And you see, he had a chimney. That brick on top, though, wasn't 1865. That's been added on since. And I forget what Caroline wanted to know what that was down there. I guess a smokehouse or something, but I told her, no, that's one of those modern type products.
That's
the John, right. Now then, how about this place? What a beauty. Yeah, there's some good sized logs in there. I think if you measure some of them, they look like they're about a foot square. This old oak tree right here is said to be possibly 300 years old. I doubt that it's that old, but to get that big, it's probably 150, 200 anyway.
Spread out pretty good.
That's a big old tree. You know, been there a long time. And over here is a mill wheel that came somewhere where there was a grist mill somewhere in the area here. And this mill wheel is in the article too, and I think the article in the newspaper tells you something about this mill wheel, where they got it from. There's quite a number of these in the area. I've seen other ones in this general area here where they had flour mills and ground cornmeal and flour of different kinds. They were quite a number. Mostly water powered on these creeks here. I think it's Deer Creek, don't quote me on it, but I think Deer Creek runs down in here. There's a creek down in here anyway, and I think maybe even on the property part of it. So there's 35 acres, which is a fairly good piece of land. And I don't know whether Charles' children
Oh,
will
he's,
take an interest in it or not.
do they own all the way up to where we started?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Well,
all the way
that's-
up to where the factory is. Well, they sold that little piece where the factory was on there. So
Yeah, but up to the fence there.
target practicing, getting ready for deer season, looks like. Well,
Yeah,
that's a pretty big old cedar right there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it must have been. Well, he cleared this off, I guess, whatever timber was on here, at least some of it off, and got it cleared off enough that he could
So he's been tarring the roof.
farm it, make a living farming it, and then of course to see when he got into the mush. See, he's been tarring the roof here. He's been out here with a stick fixing up tar.
Yep. Block.
Yeah, I didn't forgot to bring it back. He's got the blinds pulled down so you can't see much inside.
There's these things that I have in it.
Yeah, we have some of them. Well, to say it's been vandalized a couple of times. I think he's tried to keep it pretty well closed up, I guess. Yeah, he's got all the curtains pulled. Well, I would have tried to get in touch with Charles, but he has an unlisted number, so I never did know what his number was, and I kind of hate to run him out here. He's come out here a couple of times. Anyway, now here they've got board and battens over the old log that's been added on afterwards. Hard to tell when that was added on. Because I guess they had electricity in here by the looks of it one time. They had electrified, but there's no power in there now. Yeah, he has to keep this grass mowed. I think he's got to bring the mower out here in his pickup, or else he's got one somewhere. Probably brings it along in his pickup. Those logs in there still have some of the bark on them. Boy, he hoists pretty good rocks for that foundation, too.
Yeah, look at the size of some of these.
See, these sills here are solid sills, and they're probably a good foot. They're oak sills. They're probably a good foot across section here, and almost that high. Got some pretty big oak logs in there. Of course, that's one reason the timbers have held up so long, because they were good Pennsylvania oak, which is just about as durable as you can get around this country or any other country, really. Oak will outlast most woods that I know of. Some rocks in there has been parging them up. Kind of a root cellar under there, probably, when they kept the. Well, there was another thing that there was on this place, and I remember those. I kind of forgotten was it was spring. You know, that's one reason he settled here, was because it was a good water supply, and I think there was one down around this oak tree here. There was a couple of springs on the property, and they had good cold water, and you know, that was important to have a place to keep things cool, keep them deteriorating. And, yeah, I think this is a spring. There was a spring right here at one point. Spring house. This is water in there.